It's 5 o'clock, Tuesday, June 15th. I'd like to call to order the Administration Committee meeting. Can we have roll call, please?
Supervisor Long.
Present.
Supervisor Koch.
Present.
Supervisor Ard.
Present.
He's excused. Thank you. Did anyone have any comments or edits or changes on the minutes from our last meeting on Tuesday, May 18th? Okay, hearing none, the minutes will stand as published. Public comment. Doesn't look like we have any public comment tonight. Anyone from the... Okay, public comment, going once, going twice. Okay. We'll move on to the business items, the financial report for May 2021.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Long. We have the financial report through May of 2021. And one of the things you won't notice in here is I told you we received that 8.2 million from the federal government, and you're going to say, well, you know, that should really show up on here. It's not going to show up because this is a revenue and expense statement. So that 8.2 million we booked into as an asset, but as a deferred revenue. We haven't booked it as a revenue. So until it's recorded as a revenue, you won't see it on this statement. So it's such a big number, I thought somebody might notice that it's missing. My finance director assured me we do have it. So it is there, but that's why you wouldn't see it on here. It's a balance sheet item until we recognize it as a revenue, and we'll recognize it as a revenue once we've determined the uses for it. The other thing on the financial report then that I was going to point out, really if you look at the financial report, we should be at about 58% remaining on all of the funds. So if you look through there and we're over 58%, that means there's additional left revenue or expenses capacity, and if we're below that, then we're ahead of schedule, and some things are in that condition. Overall, though, everything's looking really good, probably until you get to the Rhs Fund, which I'll get us there in a second here. Go right past the county treasurers right there. All right, so the Rhs Fund, so this is the Retirement Health Savings Fund. So we budgeted $250,000 into that fund. We've paid out $338,000 year to date already. So this fund has been kind of habitually over the amount that we've been budgeting for it. One of the things I wanted to reassure you about this, though, this was the fund where we took the additional HRA fund balance and we moved it over to the Rhs Fund. So even after this negative amount here, it has about $800,000 in fund balance still available. So we knew that there were some large payouts still on the list for this that we were going to be making, and we made the number one off the list this year. So hopefully in future years we'll be a little bit closer to the amount that we have budgeted, but we do have additional capacity there before we have to transfer any funds over again. And then the last thing, capital projects are all looking pretty good. And then the sales tax on the tax report, we'll get to that here. So those numbers are fairly small, but it's we've been averaging the last 2 months about $800,000 per month, which is below some of our peak months in 2020. I don't know that we're going to see another $1 million month like we had May of last year. We're coming up on those months, so I guess we'll find out. But we're still trending ahead of where we were last year at this time, although we still might be sort of under that new normal for purchasing. I don't know, but we're doing okay on sales tax. I just don't know that we'll repeat the record type year that we had last year. Other than those points that I've made, are there any questions on the financial report for May? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Well, let's move on to the second item, resolution approving alteration of supervisory district boundary, town of Somerset. Cindy.
Hello. This is a request to alter a county supervisor district line. John and Bobby Melvin filed a petition of detachment of property in July of 2020 with the village and town of Somerset. And the petition seeks to have land owned by the Melvins located in the village be detached and attached to the town of Somerset. It's approximately 7 acres. Both the Village of Somerset and Town of Somerset approved ordinances regarding this petition filed. And the population is approximately 4 people. It is a residential land, and it does cross a county supervisor line. So the property is from the Village of Somerset, was part of Ward 2 in County Supervisor District 1. And the town of Somerset requests the parcel be made part of Ward 3 in County Supervisor District 2. This is effective July 1st, 2021. So it'll be going to County Board if approved in July.
I guess I have just 2 questions. One, why was the detachment and attachment requested? What was the purpose? And is there any real significant impact of the change?
Impact, no, I don't know why it was requested. I'm not sure if the petition even has details relating to that.
In my experience, I've only seen one detachment ever in the last 25 years previously. And really, in that situation, what it was is the property had been attached with the plans of developing it, which you would normally do under a city or a village. And then those plans had gone away. And so they wanted to detach, go back to the township, which generally has a lower tax rate.
That's all, I don't know.
Other questions? Okay, I guess we do have a resolution, so we need a motion to approve the resolution.
I would move to approve the resolution for the alteration of supervisory district boundary, town of Somerset.
And second, Supervisor Peavy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to number 3, a review of the capital improvement plan, and this is in particular, if I'm saying this correctly, facilities, IT, and admin. If I got that right.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Long. So we're not reviewing the entire KIP plan. The entire KIP was put into your packets. You can see what the other standing committees will be looking at. Our primary focus is on the area that's highlighted, which is under the general buildings and IT. So what we try to do is give you an early introduction into the departments that report to this standing committee, so that if you have any strong opinions on something, you can weigh in on that and influence the county administrator's recommendation before the county administrator makes that recommendation to the committee of the whole. And then after the committee of the whole's approval and county board's ratification of it, it becomes part of the budget. So there's several steps left in that process. This is a chance for you to weigh in early in the process and then again at the end of the process. So the projects, and they're very tiny up there. We're going to make them a little bit bigger here.
Excuse me, if I can ask, what's the color coding? I didn't
Yes.
see any legend to the color codes. So I
Do you want to go over the color coding?
I was trying to test you. The blue indicates dollar changes or any changes within what had already been proposed in prior years, and the red signifies new projects. And there should be a little description over in that column too, that's color coded. Most of them match, I think.
So with that color coding, we can then look at the first project, which is the building remodeling furnishing. This is a recurring project. This had previously been budgeted at $200,000 per year, and then Jim, 2 years ago, I think, had lowered it down to $160,000 a year because he seemed to be getting caught up. But now building materials are rising, and so now he's like, maybe $200,000 was a better dollar amount for that. So it's back to the $200,000 amount. The next two recurring projects are the same as they've been. They come up every year. The safety and security, this was added back in, this was actually struck by the county board 2 years ago, I think it was. We had this as a recurring project. We had kind of gotten caught up on safety and security, and the items had kind of dropped off. So the county board at that point struck it thinking that we were up to date on all safety and security items. But really, we do need to add it back in, and you can see that first year at $155,000 is getting caught back up for probably the couple of years that we were off from doing some of those improvements. So this is cameras, it's the key fobs, it's those safety features that we're using around the county at the different facilities to continue to update those and add additional cameras really is what a lot of it is too over the past few years. The parking lot patches, you can see there was 2 additional years added in there, and I can't quite read which lots those were for. But again, additional maintenance on the infrastructure that we have so that we can continue to maintain it. By patching and sealing the parking lots, we can extend the life of those parking lots and avoid the $600,000 that it costs to replace the government center parking lot by extending that for additional years. New roof on the DD building, that dollar amount was adjusted actually downward. I think it was at $210,000 previously. So while it's in blue and it's a dollar change, this was a decrease in the dollar amount projected for it. The folding machine, I've been messing that up the last couple of years. There's actually 2 folding machines that are out there. So one upstairs and one in the treasurer's office. So I added the extra folding machine in there on project 10079. So we have a generator replacement that was on there previously. The government center addition, this is how it was displayed previously on that. There is a government center building subcommittee that's working on this project. So this may change at some point before its final version, but this was how it was previously displayed, and I haven't made any changes to those projections yet.
Is that the $3.5 million for 2022, is that phase 1? I thought was already approved for?
Yep. So phase 1 is the storage building.
Right.
And so we spent $190,000 this year for the architectural design. So 2 things. One of the things that I reiterated last year was while we were approving 1 year of funding for the architectural design, I told the county board, now don't pull the $3 million funding the next year. If you're going to spend the $190,000, you know that you're committing to the $3 million the next year. So that's the $3 million the next year. So that is the second part of that. So it's not technically committed until the county board adopts this plan. So the other thing,
I thought it was.
Yeah. So the other thing, though, that I'm changing is a little bit of that philosophy of splitting those dollar amounts. So instead, what I've asked the departments to do is to submit the dollar amounts with a 1 year dollar amount, even though it may be a 2 or a 3 year project. Give me the entire dollar amount in the first year that the architectural design will start. So in hindsight, if we had done it that way, you would have been looking at a $3.6 million project in the first year in 2020, even though or in 2021, even though it was going to be built in 2022. We would do the architectural design in 21, bid it over the winter, build it in 2022. I would have you approve the entire project in the first year. So some of the projects you're going to see, we did pull those dollar amounts together. We've combined them into a single dollar amount on 1 year, even though they may end up being a multi-year project. That's because I don't want to run into that situation where, and especially if it's the change of a county board year, where the next county board doesn't want to approve the project and we wasted a bunch of money designing it the year before. So, but yeah, that's the 3 million. Okay, then we get into new projects. You see all the red ones. So upgrade of government center elevators, 370,000 in year 23. Then we have engineering and roof replacement for the service center building out in 2023, 570,000 for that. This is one of those ones where you can see that it says engineering and then roof replacement. It'd probably be a design 1 year and construction the next year. So it might actually go on in 2024. Replace the ceiling tiles at the government center. That's out in the year 2025. That project was added. We added a solar array project out in 2026 for Baldwin for 76,000. And then it's how do you pronounce that word, Jim? Terrazzo restoration. That's the steps, right?
That's the floor, all the floor.
All the flooring. Okay. For the government center, we have that out in the year 2024 for 130,000. We're replacing the government center west driveway for 55,000. Am I off on these? And then landscaping. Eyesight's starting to blur up. I gotta blow it up a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So landscaping at the nursing home for 55,000. We have replaced the government center air handlers. That project does a split again, Jim. Do we need to combine those two?
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to combine those $2 amounts. So we'll put it in the first year, even though it might be a second year construction. And then we also put a solar panels at the government center for 730,000. So the difference in prices, you can see that the solar array is smaller at Baldwin. It's the size of the building, so the number of solar panels. And also, I think what you were looking at was a shelter. Were you looking at a shelter, or were you looking at the arrays that turn for the government center?
I looked at both, it just depends on which way at that point in time.
Yeah.
We want to go.
Yeah, there was a couple of different options there. These projects do actually have a fairly decent payback period for energy usage. So I think the technology's gotten to the point now, and they're 5 years out yet. So we think that by the time we get to the point of constructing these, it's going to have improved even more. When we first started looking at solar arrays probably 4 or 5 years ago, the payback wasn't there. We were looking at 30 to 40 year payback periods. And it's really just like, yeah, it's really just not there yet. And we weren't recommending them. They're to the point now where we are recommending solar arrays. So you're going to see them come up on our schedule at this point. Any questions on the building project before we move to IT?
Yeah, I have one. Would it be more practical to add the solar panels, the government center, when and if we do the addition? I mean, there must be so much internal wiring connections and, if you got the roof hooked up to do, if you're ripping into one to hook up the other, would it just be more practical to roll it all into one project, even though it may take another year?
And if I may add on to that question, I was thinking on the same thing. There's a number of items in this list: elevators, roofing, And it all kind of, folds into how does that, how does the building expansion impact those particular projects? Are they done at the same time? Is there any reason that they're separate? And, you get the gist.
They do. Great questions. One of the reasons it's split out is because I don't know what the board's going to do in the future. The project may or may not go through. And so these projects have to be done no matter what, because we're working and living in the buildings. So they're split out, but if the new addition was approved, the air handlers for this building would be rebuilt and redone then, so they'd be gone. The solar panels, it'd be a great time to do it. As you say, yep, we've got things that are similar going on. By all means, it'd be good to tie it in together. But these are all things that we have to do. The elevators are a little bit of a my bad and another one on the vendor's side. I had asked last time for the nursing home and this to be done for what we approved last time. And the contractor failed to include the government center elevators. And I had asked them a few times, like, you sure? So anyway, they're in there. We do have to do that, but if the building goes, yes, we would do that then. So many of these items would go away with the addition because we would have to touch all of this building anyway. The terrazzo, we would wait until the project was done because we got a lot of work to do down here, obviously. And that would wait and we would do the terrazzo as the end of everything. That would kind of like just be the nuts, whipped cream, and cherry on a beautiful building.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the only item that really doesn't have to be done is the solar arrays.
Correct.
Okay. So the rest are all going to be done, or need to be done, building an addition or no addition.
Yep, and the solar array could change. Right now, Excel and the state, they hold us to a certain percentage that we can generate. But I think as time goes on, we've seen this change already since, like Ken was talking about a few years ago. It's getting better and it's getting to be a more open market. So I think that you're going to see this so that we can actually get a zero delta for this building. And anything we make over that, we'll sell back to the Excel. But it's amazing just the difference in the last few years with solar and, how we're distributing it and how they're carrying it and then how the states are looking at it. So I think by the time this comes around, this will change so we could put this down to zero. And net zero on this building would be huge.
Supervisor Cook?
Under the safety and security in fiscal year 2022, it's obviously significantly more than the other years. Is that related to that access control system, or are there specific other functions?
Yep, so there's access control, and this is also the year that we're updating the x-ray machine and the metal detector. Right now, currently, when you come in, if you're green lighted, you still go through the metal detector and you hear the buzz if you've got something. In the new system, they would be linked together, and they just need to update to different technologies. And then, like you say, with the card access system, the software, when I first got here, it was a proprietary system, and we switched it out, so that was 8 years ago. And since then, the amount of customer base and support from the company we use, it's open protocol, but there's only 1 or 2 people that can work on it in this area. And so then up goes the cost and the service. So switching to the new platform, there's over a dozen providers in the area. So it's not a proprietary system, but it'll provide us with safety and comfort. If somebody goes out of business or somebody's busy, somebody else can come in and do work on it.
And the replacement of the front door security was actually on our KIP project last year. That dollar amount probably should have been blue, but when we decided to add the safety and security line back in, the front door security equipment is safety and security, so we combined that into that row. So a portion of that 155 was or is in the KIP plan already.
Other questions before we move on? What's next?
We had IT. There's just $2 amount changes. So we increased the 2023 dollar amount for IT, and I think that was for the camera storage, video storage, mostly.
Just our general data storage systems for the county, we replace them every 5 to 7 years, and so every 4th and 5th year, we have 2 systems. We replace one that ages out to 5 years in 2024, and the next one in 2025.
Yeah. So general data storage,
Yeah.
they can't hear you online, so. It's on a 5-year rotating basis. So we increased the dollar amount in '23 for that, and then we increased one of the dollar amounts on copy machine out in 2023. They have different sizes of machines between the clerk of courts and the district attorney's office. There's not an inflationary cost difference, it's just that. And I think that was it then. That's highway, it's actually not ours. Yep, that's all that I have at this point in time. So that's it on KIP. So any feedback that you have on projects?
You had transportation?
Yeah,
highlighted as
transportation
well?
actually, ADRC, oh, yeah, the ADRC vehicles are actually HHS, but the fleet vehicles would be county. Yeah. So those fleet vehicles are the general fleet that we use, that staff will use for moving clients or moving in between facilities vehicles, parks vehicles. There's a laundry list of different vehicles that we have under that fleet account. So we started building in some inflationary amounts in the out years of that.
Okay, so that includes a lot of different vehicles and a lot of different departments?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Questions? Concerns? Okay. Well, I guess what we could say is as we look at this in any more detail, if we have any other questions or considerations, we can contact Administrator Witt directly.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I guess we're ready to move on to our last business item, the resolution updating some more personnel policies.
Hello. Nice to meet some of you in person, finally. There's 5 policies that we're bringing forward. I'll go through each one individually, like we've done in previous meetings, list any highlights, and then if you have any questions we want to talk about. So the first policy, 5.14, licensing and certification requirements. This was primarily formatting. The policy was updated in 2017, but we did add a definition section to provide examples, including the CDL. The CDL policy we did have coming through, but we did combine that information into this policy. Next policy, 5.15, bonding requirements. This is formatting only. 6.1, reasonable accommodation. This policy was expanded to provide specific details, examples, and direction for employees regarding reasonable accommodations. We added several definitions to clarify important terms related to the Americans with Disabilities Act, including what is a disability, reasonable accommodation, interactive process, and undue hardship. And then we added a new section titled Accommodation Request Process to give employees and supervisors a starting point to reference when accommodations are being requested. Next policy, 6.2, appearance and grooming. Having such a large variety of departments and positions, this policy was updated to allow greater departmental discretion regarding employee dress. Because of this, there was a statement also added that it is the department head and/or supervisor's responsibility to clearly communicate any department-specific workplace attire and grooming guidelines to their teams. There is a list of appearance and appropriate workspace and personal hygiene guidelines updated to incorporate gender-neutral language and examples. And then we added a statement that it is the employee's responsibility to consider the business needs of the day-to-day and exercise professional judgment when making dress choices. And
I like the term beachwear.
yeah, that actually was in the last policy too, so we kept that one in there. And then finally, 6.3, confidentiality. This one was primarily formatting, but we did add a HIPAA section to highlight the importance of HIPAA compliance, and also added a breach of confidentiality section to include examples and guidance for employees should a confidentiality breach take place.
Okay, questions? Okay, well, we do have a resolution. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I would move to approve the resolution updating the personnel policies as presented.
Thank you, and I will go ahead and second. And any further discussion or questions? Seems pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll keep these moving for you.
Halfway there.
Halfway.
Now, I actually did say a lot of the easy ones were done first, so some of the other ones are going to take a little bit more work on rewriting and creating of new policies, so they might actually get a little bit more challenging.
Well, that's good for us. That's good. Okay, we'll move on for requests for future agenda items. Any requests at this point? You can always let me know. Announcements, correspondence?
July 15th, 1 month from today, will be the start of the county fair, and we will have a picnic at the county fair for county employees, so sign up is on the bridge if you guys want to sign up for that.
Okay, okay.
No microphone. Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on the broadband survey. So far, I checked in with Andrew Cohill from Design 9, and so far we've had 747 people that have responded to the broadband survey, and that's just through natural propagation through Facebook and social media. 17 businesses, which really isn't that high. The mail-out surveys will be hitting the post office by the end of this week and early next week, and hopefully will be distributed to all the households in St. Croix County by the end of next week. And he is hoping to see about between 80 and 100 businesses, and we're going to be reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce to see if they can make another push on that to get the word out to businesses to go ahead and fill out the survey. So right now it doesn't look like a whole lot, but the mail-out survey is hitting 13,000 households or 35,000 households. I forget exactly the number, but we'll get out there in the next week and a half or so. Okay.
Okay, any other updates? Date of our next meeting is on July 20th, and otherwise, I'll adjourn the meeting. 5:33.